Jim up here. Thank you. Marilda Ferri is here. She's the executive producer of the film, and I want to thank her for being with us today and working on this amazing project. I wanted this event to take place here in the Tchaikovsky Auditorium because for many years, many of us spent glorious lunches or afternoons at lectures and at amazing events on Brazil, and so I just needed to come back to this place, which was where we built a community at Brown University. I don't think I'm going to say brilliant things right now, but I want to say three very important things. The first is many of you have heard many parts of my history of how I ended up here today in this auditorium. It's obvious that it began with 1973 and this commune I lived in, but especially meeting Marcos Arruda and his sister, whose daughter Suya is here with us today as part of my Brazilian family, and her husband Andre and their beautiful daughter, who is enjoying this luxury hotel that she's staying in these last few days and didn't want to leave to come here, which is fine. And you know, my journey to Brazil with Martinha and falling into the left and the opposition to the dictatorship, and then also being really lucky and privileged to be a part of the founding of the LGBTQ movement in Brazil, but especially its left wing. And I think it's objective to say that I founded the left wing of the gay movement in Brazil. And I think that's one of the most amazing things that I will leave as a legacy. And I think today, people like Renan Quinalha, he was very modest, but he's the president of the Grupo de Trabalho that's going to investigate reparations for the harm to LGBTQ people in Brazil from the colonial period to more recent times. A very bold task that he has. But that really is a part of a way I understood living in Brazil. And it was building relationships which subverted the vertical relations between the North and the South, and finding all the time ways to rupture that relationship and build another kind of relationship. And that was the essence of working with every single student that I worked with. I came into the university because I had lived in Brazil for 6 years. I went back to the United States to be a union organizer, a community organizer, a social worker, and eventually I was saying, how do I get back to Brazil? I don't earn enough money. I have a 2-week vacation a year. And I talked to someone in New York, Bob Stam, some of you might know his work. He said, well, why don't you become an academic, get a PhD? And I don't think I can, I'm not smart enough to get a PhD. And I called my sister, Mary Carolyn France, who is here today, and has read and edited every single thing I've written, so I have to thank her for that. All the things that are well written in English are because of her, not because of me. And I called her and she said, yeah, you can do it, you can do it, just apply to school. So I started out, I went to Cal State Los Angeles to see if I could enroll in their master's program in Latin American history, Latin American studies, and I had no formal background in Latin American history and studies, although I really knew much more than maybe even some of my professors by this time. And so I started the program, and then by hook and crook I got it to UCLA, almost by accident. And the decision was not just to be able to go back to Brazil, but was to find a unique intervention at that moment and that time in the process of the democratization and the clear gap there was in the work on LGBTQ history in the country. And so I saw that. I decided to plunge into that project. My advisor really encouraged me to do a social history. Originally, I was going to do a comparative history of Argentinian Frente de Liberación Homosexual de Argentina with this Grupo Somos in São Paulo. And he said, no, go to the archives and find the material in the archives. And those who know Beyond Carnival kind of see what I discovered there and found that. And it led to a job at Brown University after other challenging difficulties getting a good job. And I finally got this job here, and I've been very, very happy here for the last 20 years. And so with COVID, locked in the house, you get tired of working and watching TV. And so I started organizing my archives. I've discovered that I had accumulated over 10,000 letters that my family had written to me or I'd written to them over the years. I started organizing them in files and got all the documents that had been going around the world with me for the last 30 years in different places, and started organizing them. And then when I became 70, I really entered a crisis. I said, God, I'm 70. I feel like I'm 25 and I'm 70. That's really, I hate watching myself now. I just don't like that image there. It's horrible. I feel like I am an old man, but I feel young at heart. So I decided I really wanted to go to Brazil for the elections, and people know about all the work we did to found the Washington Brazil office, and the political work we did before that to mobilize against Bolsonaro. And I had already lost. I'd gotten half a sabbatical, but because of COVID, I didn't get the full one, and so they allowed me to go for 1 semester. And then the university, you got to come back. That's the rules. I said, and they got to come back. So I said, okay, screw you, I'm retiring. And so I stayed in Brazil for a semester and began the phased retirement of 3 years, 1 semester teaching, 1 semester off, half your salary with a little bonus, and started planning this event. And it was really clear that I had to bring I wanted to bring everyone back, but I didn't have the budget for that. So I brought key people, mostly my students at Brown and people who I was on their doctoral committees and felt that I played an important role in their work outside of Brown. And I wanted to show the breadth of the kinds of things I've done. And the relationships that I've had with my students is the most valuable thing in my academic career, much more important than the books I've written. And the ability to get them enthusiastic about projects and to feel that they don't have to immediately go on to Wall Street or to law school. They can do dangerous things, and they can travel to Latin America. They can learn a new language. They can have an adventure in life, because unfortunately most youth today are very career-oriented, and it's very hard for them to see beyond the possibility of straight and narrow down the road. And so that was I tried to be very subversive with my students and try to get them to break out of the molds. And it's very clear that I was successful, at least with the people I brought back. So that's a wonderful thing, just really fabulous. The other thing where is he? He's not even in the room probably. Where's Moshe? He's not here, right? Oh, there he is. He forbid me to do this, so I'm going to do it anyway. I met Moshe at my second year in graduate school at UCLA. And the first night I stayed at his house. The next morning I got up at 6:30. He said, "What are you doing at 6:30?" I said, "Well, I have to go to UCLA because I needed more money, and I'm part of the union drive to get graduate students into the union, and I have to sign cards because I really needed the job." I told them about my union experience and organizing experience, and they were so blown away that they sent me to mathematics, geosciences, and physics, of which I know nothing, and are the hardest students to organize. So every day I had to get up and run to UCLA and spend an hour signing union cards and then go to my classes and do my work. And he knew from the second day we met that I was crazy and invention, so it's like I gave him notice on that, and so he has been the most amazing person to support my career in so many ways, and I just can never, just an amazing partner to have, husband, lifetime partner. When I wrote Beyond Carnival, he refused to allow me to say my lifetime partner. He said, "What if you get divorced with me? I'll look ridiculous." So, but every single book has been dedicated to him. Some to my sister and some to my bio daughter, Sonia Kurhulak Ali, who unfortunately couldn't be here today, but is, I think, going to follow in some of my footsteps, maybe. We'll see. So yeah, it is fake retirement. When I announced 2 years ago, everyone wrote back and said, "Yeah, right, you're going to retire." So what I won't have to do is grade papers, go to department meetings, deal with what I consider incredibly insignificant and petty university politics. And for someone who's done the kinds of things I've done, it really is pathetically ridiculous, like fighting over nothing with big stakes when we're fighting in other places in the world on big stakes. So that will not be a part of my life, but what will be my part of the life, beyond this community of all of you who I hope don't disappear, will be the projects I want to do. And I really need to do them in order to keep my energy up and my youth, even though my body is failing me a little bit, but the youth of the energy is still there. So I do have 5 book projects. Who knows if I'll write any of them or all of them. I do have 4 documentaries that I'm working on. This one I think is very rough now, but we're going to make it amazingly marketable when we finish it. It's a great beginning. The feature-length film on Herbert Daniel and the opera. And the opera, everyone thinks it's crazy when I'm talking about this opera I'm going to do, and it's crazy. But it really is full circle, and I'm projecting it to take 8 years to make happen till we get it to the Municipal Theater in Sao Paulo. All of this planning is not me, it's my mother who taught me how to plan and think ahead. And I'll tell you anecdotes about that at another time, but 8 years from now, we're going to launch the opera at the Municipal Theater in Sao Paulo. And it's based on the story of Marcos Arruda, his imprisonment, his torture, and his freedom. And I have students working with now retranslating the original book that his mother wrote about his imprisonment into, we translated it into English. We got it published. Some of you have read the book with Duke University Press, and now we're retranslating it back into Portuguese, and we're hoping to get a really good publisher to publish it in Brazil, and then start the process of bringing people together, convincing them, seducing them into this project, and then seeing if we can actually make it happen. And if it doesn't happen, that doesn't matter. It's the process, it's the journey, and that's been the most amazing thing about my life. The journey to Brazil. I was planning to be there for 6 months. I stayed 6 years the first time. It changed my life. I'm not a Brazilian. I have no illusions about that, but people know how much I love the country and its culture and its people, and I know all of its defects and problems, including getting your cell phone ripped off last week on São Paulo by a guy going by on a bicycle. And so I joke to people that I finally feel I'm really a Brazilian now that my cell phone has been stolen, because every Brazilian's had their cell phone stolen at some point. So yeah, this is it, and it's not it. It's the beginning of a new chapter in my life, and I cannot wait to begin it. Moshe and I will be in Berlin in the fall at the American Academy, and then we're going to spend Carnival in Rio. We're going to actually do it, the premier Carnival in Rio experience, because Moshe's never seen that. And then we're going to kind of be vagrant travelers to be in New York and Europe and in Israel. Keeping up the work, I'm committed as the president of the board of the directors to the Washington Brazil office in 2026, December, when I will have served a 6-year term as president, and I needed to have other people take on that role so I can have time to work on the opera. And that's it. And I just want to thank every one of you for coming for this conference. It means so much to me. Ronnie is no longer here, but he was just essential for making this happen. Devin and Michelle, the people in technical in the booth there, all of my students, my graduate students, my colleagues who are here in this thing, I thank you all. You have given me as much love, or much more love than I think that I've been able to transmit to you, and I thank you all very much for everything.